Hello and welcome to Motors for the Masses, and today we're going to be talking about the Euro 7 regulations, a backtrack on the Welsh 20 miles an hour speed limit, and then some driving laws that you may not have known that still exist and are a bit weird. So let's roll the intro and get cracking. So by now you should have all heard about the 20 mile an hour limit that has affected Wales. All the 30 mile an hour speed limits has been reduced to 20 miles an hour. However, the government have received a 500,000 named signed petition. That's 1/7 of the population of Wales. And they have said, we don't want it. So the government have held their hands up for the first time, I think, ever, and said, do you know what? We got it wrong. And they're reverting a lot of the 20 mile an hour new speed limits back to 30 miles an hour. Now, some of them are like 3-lane dual carriageways going through town that used to be 30 and are now 20. It makes no sense whatsoever to have them at 20 miles an hour, especially if you're going through, you know, in a non-busy time at night or something, and you're sitting there on a 3-lane carriageway doing 20. Just makes absolutely no sense. Now, this whole thing cost £34 million to do in the first place. So how many more millions are they going to have to do backtracking what they should have thought about properly in the first place? I mean, that's just crazy, isn't it? So they are leaving it up to local authorities to make the decisions, but hopefully they'll all follow suit and go, do you know what, we got it wrong. And that'll be the first time in a very long time that the government have said, our fault, we got it wrong. But there you go. So perhaps the likes of Rishi and all the other governmental types, all the narcissistic people that are running the country, can look at the Welsh authorities and go, do you know what? They got it wrong and they admitted it. I wonder if we can do the same. Yes, you can. And the way you can admit it is by leaving office and getting someone else who can run the country properly to do it. Give that a go. Now, the Euro 7 emission regulations have been talked about for over a year now, and they're set to come into force on the 1st of July 2025. But what does it actually mean? Well, Euro emissions have been around since 1992 with Euro 1, and the whole purpose of it was to reduce the vehicle emissions outputs to help tackle growing pollution concerns, especially in major cities. Well, at the moment, new cars being sold have to meet Euro 6 regulations, and in places like London, where they've got the ULEZ control zone, you are ULEZ fee free if your petrol car meets Euro 4 regulations and above, which came in 2006, or Euro 6 for diesel, which I think was 2016, I think. Don't quote me on that. I should have looked it up. I'm sure it's 2016, if memory serves. But anyway, Euro 6 for diesel. Now that means that the limit is 80 milligrams per kilometre of NOx. NOx. I'll explain what that is in a second for diesel cars, and 60 milligrams of NOx, or milligrams per kilometre of NOx, for petrol cars. And that vehicle has to comply with those limits for the first 5 years and 100,000 kilometres of its life. Now, NOx is a combination of nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide, and the two combined together equal NOx. So there you go. NOx. So what is the difference for Euro 7? Well, Euro 7 is supposed to pull all vehicles in line under one blanket limit, shall we say. And that limit is that cars sold after 2025 or from 2025 onwards can no longer emit anything more than 60 milligrams per kilometre of NOx for any vehicle, regardless of whether it's diesel, petrol, truck, or a minibus or van or whatever it is. However, they have elongated how long it's supposed to be compliant for, from 5 years to 10 years, and they've doubled the mileage limit from 100,000 kilometres to 200,000 kilometres. So where it used to be 80 milligrams for diesels and 60 milligrams for cars, for the first 5 years and 100,000 kilometres of its life. It's now 60 milligrams across the board for the first 10 years and 200,000 kilometres of its life. But it doesn't stop there. Euro 7 is also taking into account the amount of pollution emitted by tyres and brakes. So what are those limits? Well, for electric cars, you're not allowed to have more than 3 milligrams per kilometre haphazardly spraying off the tyres and brakes of any electric vehicle. So that means all new manufacturers are going to have to do rigorous testing on their tyres and brakes to make sure that nothing is distributed haphazardly out into the atmosphere. I think that's going to be a big expense for tyre manufacturers. Although people like Continental, I believe, are welcoming this and feel that they are ready for it. We'll see. I mean, obviously, smaller tyre brands are going to possibly go out of business with all the reductions they're going to have to do. I don't know what technology is involved in creating tyres that don't shred. Perhaps we'll all drive around on those plastic wheels you used to get on your little go-kart years ago. They don't seem to do much for stopping or distributing bits of rubber all over the place. That means burnouts are going to be illegal. Imagine that. Imagine, how do they do that? How are they going to monitor that? If people are sitting in car parks doing burnouts, are they going to be fined for haphazardly distributing bits of tyre particle out into the atmosphere? So they won't just get you on doing a burnout and being a nuisance driver. You'll be done for pollution as well. Oh dear, oh dear. So it seems tyre and brake manufacturers have definitely got their work cut out. Let's see what technology they can come up with. I know brake pads have changed over time, but you've got someone like EBC pads who do performance pads and stuff like that. There's brake dust galore come off them. How are they going to manage that? Does that mean you can't have performance pads anymore? Because where they stop the vehicle better, they're too wrapped up in pollution to be able to sell? Which means you're going to have standard brakes, so you can up-rate your engine, but you can't do anything about your brakes. Because if you've got better pads, you're just polluting the air. Unless, of course, they're going to change the technology in that, so you've got better performing pads that actually stop the vehicle really quickly, performance pads, but don't emit any brake dust, so they don't wear very quickly. How's that going to work? I mean, I suppose this is only for vehicles sold brand new, but in 10 years' time, oh, I don't know, let's just go with it, I suppose. There's nothing we can do about it, is there? Because the government are going to do what the hell they like anyway. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below how you think about all this. Obviously, pollution is not something anybody wants. But is it really that bad at the moment? I mean, it's only that bad, surely, because of the amount of vehicles on the road. So just reduce that. I mean, it doesn't help when people have so many cars. I mean, I've got 5 or 6 cars myself. I don't drive them all the time, obviously. So I'm only driving one at a time, so it's irrelevant how many I own, I suppose, because I'm only using one of them at a time. It doesn't really matter. If I'm using one car all the time, or 5 cars, a fifth of the time I would use that one car. So the amount of rubber rolling around on the road is irrelevant, really. And brake dust, I suppose it just depends on the type of vehicle and how much brake dust it's kicking off. But even so, it's like, oh, can't do anything anymore, can you? It's just going to get worse. Now, they are saying when they're doing the testing for Euro 7 that they are going to be under hotter conditions and over shorter journeys to try and replicate real-world environments. Now, as I said before, in places like London, the current regulation is for any car, petrol car, over Euro 4 from 2006 onwards is ULEZ free. And the same for diesel vehicles, Euro 6, ULEZ fee free. However, it is not clarified if that will change when it hits Euro 7. Are they then going to up it to Euro 5 for cars and Euro 7 for diesels. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, surely they're going to do what they usually do and find whichever way makes them the most money. I don't know. There's no talk at the moment about changing those. So apparently at the moment it's still going to remain from Euro 4 onwards for petrol cars, and Euro 6 onwards for diesel cars will be fee free. But, you know, we are talking about the British government here, and we are talking about the wonderful mayor and all the amazing schemes he comes up with to help Londoners in their journeys in and around London. I mean, I suppose if they've got these 15-minute cities in place, it's all going to be irrelevant anyway, isn't it? Because no one will be driving cars because you can't go out of your zone. I despair. I really do. Anyway, again, as I said, let me know your thoughts on how you think they're going to proceed with this. I personally think whatever is going to make them the most money, they'll change the regulations to meet that. Not that I'm being cynical anyway, but I am. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. However, let's end on something a bit more jovial, shall we? So, what do I mean by that? Well, there is a highway code regulation number 57 that if you have your dog hanging out of a window going enjoying the wind, that the ROSers can use that as an excuse to prosecute you as a distraction for other drivers and a distraction for yourself as the driver. Because under that Rule 57, your dog should be securely fastened within the vehicle. I suppose if you've got the window open and it's a big dog and they're in a seatbelt and they've then got their head out the window, that'd be a difficult one to argue. But apparently, if you hit upon a difficult ROSer, I don't mean physically, so don't worry, then, you know, that could be an issue for you. There is also another rule. Now, as you know, before I go any further, these rules are pretty much guidance under the Highway Code Act. They're not law as such. However, the ROSers can use these guidances to implement laws in their favour. So be mindful of that. So if you get stopped by a ROSer and go, it's not, just because it's in the highway code doesn't mean it's law. No, it isn't. But they can use those guidance to back up the laws that they want to implement. Like I said, it's not illegal for your dog to hang out of their window. But the ROSers could use it to implement the law that it's a distraction for other road users and you as the driver. So because your dog is not securely fastened within the seat restraint or restrained properly within the vehicle. So be mindful of that. So as I said, moving on to another one, Article or Rule 148 states that a ROSer can have you for emitting far too much noise. So noise violation could be an issue under Rule number 148. Now that can come in more than one form, be it an exhaust or loud music. So if you're sitting in your car and enjoying loud music, maybe you've got, I don't know, Beyonce squirting out on your stereo, or in my case, probably Luke Combs blaring out and me singing at the top of my voice at that, then that can be an offence under, well, it can be an offence in the way that it's a distraction and the ROSer can use that because you are not concentrating on what you're doing and that you are emitting noise pollution. So be mindful of that. Whatever next? Well, swearing at bell ends is a rite of passage as a driver. Possibly it could get you in trouble because the ROSers could use that as disorderly conduct and detain you thusly. Yes, disorderly conduct. It's a rite of passage. If someone carves you up, giving them the middle finger is something that emits frustration. If you don't do that, you've got all that anger and frustration built up inside you. And there's nothing better than... Just saying. Now, there is a law still in place under the, I've got to get this right, Metropolitan Street Acts Article 9 from 1867. And that states And I'm going to read this here because it's too much to remember. No picture, print, board, placard or notice, except in such form and manner as may be approved by the Commissioner of Police, shall by way of advertisement be carried or distributed in any street within the limits of the Act by any person riding in any vehicle or on horseback or being on foot. Any person doing any act in contravention of this section shall be liable for each offence to the penalty of not exceeding £10. This section shall not apply in the sale of newspapers. What that basically means is you cannot advertise things on your vehicle, which basically means it's technically illegal to put an advert for sale in your car. Whether you're selling your car or selling things via your car. Maybe you've got, I don't know, a bird cage for sale or something, just randomly, and you advertise it in your car. If you've got a Ford Fiesta and you want to sell said Ford Fiesta and you put for sale and all the details of it, etc., it's technically not allowed. Did you know that? Although I don't think anyone ever has been prosecuted for doing such. However, if the Rozzers get hold of this, they might start using it as an excuse. Be warned. And that is all I've got for this episode. Thank you very much for joining me. If you've got any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Let me know what your thoughts are, especially on this Euro 7 nonsense and how you think the country is going to be going in terms of riding, driving, etc., etc. And in terms of motorbikes, obviously at the moment, emission laws do not come into force in terms of motorbikes. But where do you think it's heading? Let me know that in the comment section below also. And that's all I've got time for, so thank you much for joining me. I'll be back next time with something else. So until next time, please ride and drive carefully, but have fun. Bye-bye.